Hello, welcome to Dark Days Radio Twitch stream. We're not streaming a game for once. I'm one of the
Yep.
regular hosts, Chris. I'm joined by Mike,
Hey, how's it going?
and we are joined by Crystal, one of our other hosts.
Hello.
And we are here chatting about community content and the stuff we are planning to put out. Because if you were not aware, obviously, Storyteller Vault is a place to produce World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness content using the resources there for the various game editions that are available. And on the 15th of October, V5, so Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, will be an option, which is really cool. That's really, really cool because obviously that's the current edition. That's the edition that people are mostly really excited to make content for, and have likely been making fan content and putting it elsewhere. But you can now finally monetize the content you're making. If you're unaware of what community content is like on there, there's going to be templates for Word or InDesign, and to make really, I guess, almost equivalent to official products, depending upon how well you utilize those products. There's going to be an art pack. There are numerous art packs already. There's going to be the V5 art pack that's apparently going to have hundreds of images in there. So that's cool. I say hundreds, it's mostly only 100 because it's taken from like how many books for V5? And then obviously if you put it on there, you can set your prices for that, and 50% of the royalties will go to you, and you can distribute those to yourself and your co-writers and your artists and everyone else that puts their labor of love into this. We've already done some community content for other game lines, mainly Chronicles of Darkness. Mike, what have we done for Chronicles of Darkness? I've forgotten.
Geez, tons of things. We've got the Secret Frequency Files 1 and 2, which are just like the Secret Frequency episodes here on the show, on the podcast, which are really exciting and provide just a lot of different story ideas, maybe some antagonists, maybe some story hooks, that sort of thing, for Chronicles of Darkness primarily. Only for Chronicles of Darkness in that case. Oh, and a lot of other Chronicles of Darkness stuff. Chris, you've done quite a few short Mortals focused adventures. We've got Ashes of Memory, which is a Geist second edition and first edition kind of SAS sort of adventure. That is, really, I think it's the only Geist adventure that's out there right now. So that's definitely good to check out if you're interested in that setting. And I think that's pretty much it. And you and Crystal have also done work with other content creators as well, working on fiction and other things. So there's definitely quite a bit out there, which is pretty exciting and really good to see just all the creativity going on for the Storytellers Vault.
Yeah.
But I think, Chris, with all the excitement that's really going on with V5 finally being released for community content, we're really kind of announcing Darker Days Publishing as a more coalesced entity at this point. We've been publishing for a little while. We just mentioned all those Chronicles of Darkness products as well, but I think this is really a time that we're kind of working together more to bring out further written content. I think we're all really excited about that. So same team for Darker Days Radio with a podcast. And we're going to still do the podcast as well, but it's going to be the same people and love, just doing some more written content and having that out there for you to get some of these ideas that we have into a bit more of an accessible format, which I think is really cool. And a lot of this I think really comes down to Chris's creative perseverance, coming out with that Ascension Night scenario back in 2018. And focusing on that in a lot of ways. And then as well, having Crystal on board, you've really brought us a lot of invaluable insight into not just writing, but also just, the overhead portions of it, the back room, things that you have to be concerned about with, if you're like storage of physical product, if you go that route and that sort of thing. So that's really some good stuff. That has been really really useful for us to think about.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think just kind of give people a feel for what we're going to be doing. We mentioned the Ascension Night scenario, but kicking things off for V5 releases to the Storytellers Vaults coming out later this month. Chris, you've got 3 things that you've been working on, and all of us have been working on, really.
Yeah. So let's have a look at what we've got ready for the first one, which will go out on release day. It has been available for free to download in its kind of, I guess, dark pack kind of
Yeah,
format
the
on the
beta
Dark Days.
test. We'll call it
Yeah,
the beta
on
test.
the Dark Days Radio website, um, on the podcast website. So I'm just going to flick over to that. So, and then flick over to my Adobe so I can scroll through the PDF and everyone can see how it's working. So Make Blood
Yep.
Boil is an introductory scenario for Vampire the Masquerade, 5th edition. It was the second one we ever wrote, with the aim of being used at. I think this one was definitely more aimed at being a run at events, whereas Ascension Night was obviously us creating a scenario ready for a podcast episode for release day of V5. That just shows you how long ago these things were done.
Yep.
So as you can see, if I can scroll through this page by page, table of contents. Now also taking out the typos in table of contents that were there. It's set in Manchester, so it's using this Manchester setting for Vampire because Manchester is going back to what, first edition World of Darkness by Night is a anarch city. And so really working on what it means to be an anarch city. And that's why it's exciting for V5, because V5 is really back to the roots of anarch fun. And, the thing is, you'll see there's going to be art in here that is Creative Commons, free to use, free to utilize, monetize, and modify. So some of the art is from those locations. Some of the art is my art, my photography. You can see there's a lot of text because there's some introduction on Manchester as a place. Some of the art is official V5 art. This may change in the original format because we will see what's officially out for V5 in the art pack. But, so consider this as placeholders for now, but I don't imagine this is going to change too much. And, there's scenes and new rules. There's a new predator type for players, and rules for stuff because this all concerns an infection in Manchester that takes hold in the vampiric population. I don't want to say anything more after that because I don't want to do any more spoilers on it. Crystal, I mean, you obviously you've seen this kind of after the fact of us writing it when you came in a bit later onto Dark Days Radio. So, what from your point of view, given you've been a professional writer longer than myself or Mike, what do you make of this, or what's your take home from the fact of what we've done?
So I think one of the first things that I had a conversation with you about that you had put out was the Ashes to the Venice. I forget the name of the
Venice Unmasked.
Yeah, Venice Unmasked. And I think so. For me, some stuff that catches my eye has to look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And you took a whole bunch of just Creative Commons and free images, mashed them together, and made them look gorgeous as your cover art. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And that caught my eye. And that's what got me started talking with you guys further past Mike interviewing me at PAX U in 2018. It was, oh my God.
Yep.
So I always look for stuff that looks pretty. And for me, at least for how I consume things, I do like to have things look similar to the original stuff that it's kind of going off of. So for instance, layout or font usage or the feel of the imagery. or even things like using the green marble if you're doing like Vampire Revised. Stuff that kind of evokes that feeling. I prefer that. That doesn't mean that everybody does, and that does not mean that like the content that doesn't use that stuff isn't good, because it is. It's just that's the stuff that draws my attention first. Is that it looks very similar to the original material, or it has that same feeling.
It's funny what you say about Venice Unmasked, because that was a labour of love that went back to 2012 and was available free to download for a while, and that was all done in Word and is a complete nightmare in layout for Word, and that's all I'm going to say.
I am not a layout person, and that meme of you accidentally summon a demon, there's supposed to be bullet points is me. Like, so everything that I've done for community content has been me doing the layout, and it's awful. It's like the worst, and I don't like it.
Word is awful. I mean, putting it into the official templates, it felt like really good to do that back when was that out? Ages ago. But it was a slog, because that's like over 100 pages, and I would not want to do that again. I think putting things into layout once, as part of the process is much easier. Obviously, if you don't have access to Adobe InDesign, there are alternatives, and I think they can open up the InDesign templates, so things like Zara and Affinity. James, who podcasts with us and sometimes streams, he did his D&D DM's Guild stuff, I think, using Zara, and his stuff looks pretty good on that front. So,
Scribus is also another one.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I've got to thank Sam, my partner Sam, because she is like the model essentially for the cover of Venice, and also some of the art in Make Blood Boil. So, and basically art directing to a extent. I just click the camera. I just press click on the camera. She's in charge of what the look of it. It's a process, and I quite enjoy doing layout. I don't know why. I just like it. And I think trying to get the V5 look is interesting. Do we want to show off Ascension Night? I mean, we've got plans for it. So the plan is for Make Blood Boil, it will be, because it's been available for free for like fucking ages, right? So, and so just pay what you want for it. Just don't have to pay for it. It's been free. You can find it in its original form off someone, more than likely, but it won't be official layout. And the same will go with Ascension Night. That will be totally free. It's not even pay what you want, is our plan for that. So let me just open that up. Mike, you got any other comments about the process of making these in the first place?
No, it's just been interesting kind of getting into more of a development cycle mindset, which I think Crystal can talk about a little bit later, and just kind of streamlining that entire process with these latest PDF adventures.
Okay, so I'm just going to bring up Ascension Night. You can keep chatting, Mike, as we scroll through.
Yeah, definitely. So, as Chris mentioned, so Make Blood Boil is going to be coming out for pay what you want. We're going to have Ascension Night. We still need to work some things out, but hopefully that can come out as a free PDF. And then in addition to that, there's two other adventures which are being finalized at the moment. The first is the Araman Contract, which is an adventure which has been run at several conventions. It's worked out really well, and I think people really like it for being a very social adventure. And then also we have Project Blacklight, which is really more of an occult mystery kind of a horror adventure for V5 as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you look at the four adventures all together. Ascension Knight's it's kind of the combat adventure, because there is really a forced combat. It's all developed really to just introduce the system to you in a kind of sequential manner. So you learn about social checks and skill checks, then you get into more of an investigation portion, and then finally there's like a showdown at the end. Make Blood Boil is the real investigation heavy adventure. Our Main Contract is social all the way. You can really just go through chatting for that entire adventure without or story, I should say, without really needing to roll a dice unless it's fully necessary, which I think is a real strength to it. And then again, as I mentioned, Project Blacklight, that's really the let's go full on spook mode for the World of Darkness here.
Yeah. And all 4 of them use the same setting, so all use Manchester. So the things that we're looking at is obviously Ascension Night gives you an introduction to the I want to say it gives you an introduction to the Kindred Society of Manchester, and obviously there's been some updates in that, I think, as ideas have coalesced on that. And I'm not going to say they're final because we have plans, and there'll mostly be some retcons when we make something a bit more bulky about Manchester. But it does its purpose, and Vampire is filled with retcons. And the same, Make Blood Boil gives a bit more history to Manchester for people that obviously aren't from the UK and don't know why Manchester is so interesting, because it fucking is. And I think the plan is to have again some extra stuff in beyond just the scenarios in the other two scenarios. So there'll be, I know we'll try and put in maybe another predator type, a lore sheet might be something interesting.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah,
or a bit more detail of like, well, you're a vampire, like where are you going to hunt in Manchester? So we might do a little bit of an approach like Damnation City approach to that, and that would be quite a good way of approaching that. But I think the thing is that getting them into these PDFs into this state represents an evolution of it being a kind of like pissing about and we can make these things to formalizing a process, because I think we know what the process is now. And recently in my day job I've been doing a lot of like software development management, and it's uncanny the similarity between that process and developing books to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, Crystal, do you want to kind of bring up some of the ways that you've been helping us kind of streamline this, and also, I mean, I guess giving some insight into really what the RPG development process is?
Yeah. So I think that a vast majority of people who consume RPG material or even books in general aren't really aware of exactly the steps in the process that goes through when it comes to fully developing a book and how that comes about. So obviously every company is different as far as their approach with this or their interpretation of the steps of it. Everyone kind of follows similar processes, and they obviously have their own cycles that they go through for products and books and stuff like that. Most companies will have multiple books going on at the same time, because you don't, it's not a escalator where you can only have so many people going up at the same time. It's a multitude of escalators, and you're trying to time it so that everything comes out at certain points and hits those certain beats. And what that looks like for every company is going to be different. But yes, like, not most companies don't have just one book going. Just like with us, we have several things that we're kind of playing around with right now. For us, like, we just have an idea board instead of pitching, but for most companies to pitch. Then it starts like the hiring and writing process, and developers are generally the one that are in charge with hiring. So they're the one that puts together the team. Our team is set. We have people who most on our podcast or streams working with us with the writing process. And the writing process is also very different, that I think what people don't realize is that writing, a lot of times you write a big chunk, but it gets broken up into a lot of different places in the book. Like, for instance, stuff that I wrote with Chicago by Night, I didn't just write a chapter. I wrote a whole series of things, and they actually come through in different parts of the book. And I wasn't necessarily told exactly where they were going to fall. I was just given, hey, you're going to write the kindred history of Chicago. So that's just an example of things of sometimes things get broken apart. Sometimes they don't. The development process from there, once the writers get all of their work in, is that the developer themselves actually take a look at the bigger picture of everything. You have to make sure that the mechanics work, and mechanics take a lot more development than story or history or anything like that. So the mechanics generally take a lot longer. It's a lot more nitpicky, and there might be multiple reiterations of some sort of mechanic if it's just not working out, or play testing is involved or something like that. And then the developer basically gives a feedback to all of the writers as far as things that or ideas that they want to expand upon. A developer will look at a piece of writing from the perspective of the consumer, meaning if a consumer is going to have a question about something, the developer is going to want that writer to expand upon it and explain it so that the consumer knows exactly what's going on and how that's going to get interpreted at the table. From there, once the writers get their stuff back and get their usually called red lines done, the developer will then go through and make sure that everything is consistent throughout. So for instance, checking to make sure that mechanics are the same throughout every single draft. Names are the same for every single draft. The way that you talk about a city is similar, and that the voice that you use as a writer is similar throughout everything. So you don't switch around tenses, you don't switch around perspectives unless that's the point of what you're doing, and in that case what visuals you can add for that. From there, editing is really important. It is a different step than development. Development takes a look at the actual meaty chunks of it, and then the editor sometimes is not a gamer or a game developer. Thankfully we have someone who is, and so they can understand mechanics, but the editor is going to look at like the grammar and punctuation, and is this the same throughout, like M dashes or use of colon or that pesky Oxford comma.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna make a stand on this. We're gonna use the Oxford comma for everything. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, good. Good.
I always use it too. But that's what the editor does. And then after that, the developer will take everything through and put it all in one document for the layout person. The layout person will then put it into its template or whatever layout that it has. If there's some sort of art direction, that's generally headed by the developer because they know what's going on in all of the pages and can add visualization to it. But that's not necessarily going to be the case every single time or anything like that, because sometimes the layout person will have ideas too once they look over everything, or one of the writers may have something with what they would like to do as well. So after layout is art, and then after that it all gets put together and it goes through a stage called proofing. Proofing is this magical point where somebody takes a look at the document, the PDF itself, and goes, is this consistent throughout? Does this look the same? Does it follow our guidelines? Okay, is there anything that we need to change other than like the page XXX in the document? So, because I will tell you, the page XXX is the last thing you ever do, because your page numbers will change multiple times throughout this process. So you always want to keep the page XXX until the very last, which is why, like you'll see in Kickstarters, if you get a Kickstarter copy, you'll see page XXX in there. That is not a mistake. So yeah, like there's a lot more that goes into it than what is seen by the consumer. Yeah. And And
certainly.
each step takes its own amount of time, and you can go through cycles of like writers can go through 3-4 development cycles depending on how much you are creating. So like if you're creating an entirely new system, you might have 3 or 4 red lines from the developer, or 5 or 6 even, to get everything working the way that the developer wants at the end.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fluid how it all works.
Yeah. I mean, our system is not following quite the same, essentially because obviously we're I guess a little writers group in that respect. You know, some of us want to write, some of us don't want to write, but actually want, you know, fine being part of the other processes. Some of us won't want to write on some stuff because, you know, it's not our jam, but certainly can help with like doing the layout or doing art or simply just proofing. So in that respect, it's different in that way, and because we'll be distributing royalties because that's how Drive-Thru RPG works, and it's easier for us to manage it that way. So it's more as a place for us to develop skills and ideas and show what we can do. And I think that's the great thing about community content. That's the reason I got hired for stuff for like Vampire and Changeling, for example, and other products, is because if you can show what you can do and have a body of work, then it makes it easier to get hired. But yes, it's definitely a process that has to be that, though, no matter what you're doing, has to be worked through, because I guess editing and proofreading your own stuff is a nightmare because you just miss your own crap. Basically, you're too involved in it. You're too close to it to see the big picture. Or actually, you see the big picture. You're missing the fine details, which someone else is picking out. That's more accurate, I think. And I think that's what we'll be doing with our little team of writers, because I think everyone wants to write slightly different things. And we're not going to be just focusing on V5. I think V5 has just re-energized us after a while. I think the pandemic, work, jobs, and life has ground us down a little bit. And the fact that V5 is an option has just kind of made us go like, bloody hell, we've got this stuff that we've written already. Let's get it out there. We've got these ideas. Let's do them. And that will hopefully feed into writing other things. I'm already looking at the PDF of Ascension and Make Blood Boil here, and I'm just realizing there's a fucking colon missing in the credits page.
Sorry, I missed that while I was proofing. So good thing we're going over it again.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's always the little things. But yeah, I mean, so I think there's 2 other things that we really want to bring up here. So as Chris was kind of alluding to, we got these things coming out for V5. We're looking at doing some other stuff in the future. We don't really want to shit talk about, all the ideas that we have, but we do want to present that there's a couple of things we're looking at in the future for the kind of Darker Days publishing wing. So I think we're all very interested in historical settings.
Yeah.
One thing that's already had some brainstorming going on is this Vampire Britannica kind of setting. So that'd be looking at Vampire the Masquerade set in the British Isles. We're thinking like 100 AD, that time period thereabouts. I think he said 85 AD, kind of as a starting point. So that's a dramatically different kind of setting. With intriguingly, there was quite a bit written about it. Primarily from the Romans that were there at that time. So that brings some really interesting viability as a setting, which could be really cool. I had this Wraith the Oblivion community content thing that I wrote almost a year ago, and it's just kind of been sitting there. So that's something we really want to finally get around to editing and get out the door. So that's kind of dealing with mediums in Wraith, but also kind of introducing some other ways to play around with those kinds of powers. And we're not going to leave Chronicles of Darkness behind as well. We know David's been working on his Paradigm Shift adventure for quite some time, which is another real Mortals focused Chronicles of Darkness adventure, but also has some options for expanding into some of the different kind of like supernatural monster types. And then a little thing I like to call Crystal's Bloody Hooks, which would probably be kind of a V5 anthology supplement, sort of like the secret frequency files that we've done before, but really just focused on V5 and introducing a lot of different antagonist story hooks, legends and lore, and how that could be used in the kind of more open setting, more mysterious setting of Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. And really we don't want this entire episode just kind of like be an advertisement or anything like that. Crystal, really appreciate the insight you gave into the development process, and I think it's really educational for our listeners because a lot of them are really interested in community content or working in RPGs, that sort of thing. But I think while we, as was mentioned, we kind of have our writers and people set at the moment. I'm sure that's going to change in the future, and there's a very good chance that we're going to be looking for other talent out there, people for writing, art, layout, etc. So definitely be on the lookout for us, posting on social media that we're looking for certain types of people, and we'd be really excited to talk to you and see if we could work with each other. So a lot of great options for the future, and it's looking pretty bright. So definitely very exciting. Anything else that Crystal you want to mention, or Chris?
Not off the top of my head. I know that, yeah, like you said, there's a whole bunch of community content out there that we also haven't touched upon as a group. That I know that, like I wrote on Canis Minor, which is for Pugmire, which is 5th edition. And I've also done a Scion supplement for Godlike Relics. So that's on the Storypath Nexus vault, or Storypath Nexus, not the vault, but yeah. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there that we may also be touching upon. So if there is something that you would actually like to see us do, if you go to Drive-Thru RPG's site and go search for community content on there, it'll bring up the list of all the community content sites that are on there. And there are a lot.
Yeah.
There are a lot more than just World of Darkness.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously D&D with the DMs Guild, and having written recently for Privateer Press, I am at least... I'm definitely more... how can I put it? Comfortable with D&D rule systems and so forth. Because mainly, I like writing for that setting because it's Iron Kingdoms, and Iron Kingdoms kicks ass. But obviously it's running off D&D 5e, so through that process, I'm now, at least I understand a lot better and deeper D&D. So there's definitely that type of content, and obviously, as we said, within the team there's a lot of D&D kind of expertise. Then there's Third Eye Games with the PIP system. We can write content through that, and that's fairly open to do kind of what we want with the system. So, and that as a system is a nice dice pool system, so it's really quite easy to develop ideas for, or novel settings or whatever. I think obviously Vazen is open as community content. I know David's a big fan of that one. I think that kind of overlaps quite neatly with the type of stuff we've done for Chronicles of Darkness. So, that's something that's easier to develop for us. I just need to read the rules for it and actually play some at some point. And obviously we can't touch Warhammer or any of those IPs. I wish I could.
No.
But the big G-dub will not allow it.
Chris, I think you can touch his Y-hander.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Grim and Perilous.
We could. Yeah, I guess we could. I mean, we've got... we guess we could touch that system and make something. I don't know what. That's
I
confusing.
need to read. I need to read Zweihander at some point. So
It's a percentile
that's
systems. That's all you need to know.
right. Fair enough.
It's a Warhammer heartbreaker. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things that likely we've got ideas that would fit in, and I think the main thing is that when I guess part of what I'm interested in is not just writing, like, you know, for Vampire, like I'm not really interested in writing another clan book. Like, I don't really care about writing an interpretation of clan like La Sombra or Bloodline something for V5 and converting it over, because you know, I think the fun is, and this is actually good advice for community content, is try and find something that will stand out from the crowd. And that might be easier in other systems as well, to stand out from the glut of products that will be out there, because people jump on it and want to make something. And if you do want to do your interpretation, you can do. And on that point as well, like we wrote for Storyteller Vault 2, a version of the Architects of the Monolith for Requiem 2E. And who was it? Sorry, my mind's gone blank. But someone else did their interpretation for the a 2E Ventru clan book for Requiem. So don't feel bad if someone has written it. You can have your own spin on it, as long as you're not plagiarizing, obviously. And that's always interesting. So, you know, if you do feel you've got a good, strong take on something, then do it as well. I think V5 is a really good time for doing that, because there's so many gaps in the setting for Vampire to do that. And you can likely port over some ideas that will fit into V5. So I don't know, if you think there's a certain like cult from Circle of the Crown, which with a reimagining fits V5, and you think you can do it, then I think do it, because that'll be fun. That's a good exercise in writing as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't think of any other advice or where to go with community content, like what other portals there are, but it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah. I mean, we're happy to talk about it if you want to just hop on the Darker Days Discord.
Yeah.
Like we have under a bridge, TJ Wilson has done quite a few community content projects, and I helped out with editing one of them, for example. So, you know, we got people on there that are pretty knowledgeable. So, you know, if you just want to, you know, come on board, just talk about things, share some ideas. I think that's fun, because we're not going to be writing your ideas. So
No. We could certainly add the infrastructure around it, maybe, to bring something to life. That's for certain.
Sure.
Cool. Anything else to talk about, Mike? That or Crystal, that's coming up or important? We're doing a streamed game, aren't we? Soon, I believe.
Next week, Saturday.
Yay!
Yay!
What are we going to be
doing?
playing?
Never going home.
Huzzah! Excellent. More gas mask chicness. It's not gas mask chicness. It's gas mask horror. That's gonna be wicked. Because I have got a copy of it print on demand. So you should, if you want to play Never Go Home, go get it print on demand. It's because it's quite a small rule book. So print on demand means it comes out in really good quality. Actually, the binding will survive on the size of that book. Obviously, not next week, I think it'll be the week after, we're back to V5 streaming with the next scenario, which I need to finish preparing. I don't know I can't even remember what's going on with that. With more of the Manchester settings, so you might see some ideas from that eventually turn up in a a PDF product. Mike, we need to review some books. I think at some point we need to talk about Guide to the Sabbat, the new Sabbat book for V5, and we also need to chat about World of Darkness Ghost Hunters for Wraith the Oblivion 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I've not even touched that yet, so I need
definitely
to
both on the docket. I don't have the Sabbat book yet, so
I need to have a look at it.
That's another challenge. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And you know, we've been focused on other things. You know, you might notice we haven't had like a podcast episode in a little while, just because we've been busy with other things. And yeah, obviously we're hustling to get these V5 adventures out the door. So there's a lot going on. I'm hoping this month to at least do a nice little Spooktober secret frequency or something. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be
But
cool.
of course, we've got all the streaming, the vampire stuff going on. So there's still a lot of content coming out from us, which is just really good. Just keep things moving.
Cool.
I will also be at, in theory, at Gamehole Con physically
Wow.
in Madison. So I'm a special guest there. So if anybody is there or wanting to say hello, I will be wearing masks, but I will be there, and you'll be able to touch base with me. You guys can, if you are there, and just tag me in Discord, and I will come and say hello. I'll be running games there too.
Cool. I was just thinking, content-wise, that is on the wargaming front. When I get my ass into gear, there's going to be quite a bit of painting guides. I will remember to write up how I did it, because I've got a copy of first edition Epic Space Marine, so that's not going to be too difficult. The painting guide on that. It's going to be like
okay,
spray,
you got these little space marines here, and you're gonna
spray and slap
one contrast on there,
and then maybe a dry brush, maybe not with contrast. But I am scouting for a paint scheme for some Necrons, so I can do something that isn't just dull
chaos black and
a metal
brush.
Yeah,
on them.
I don't want to do that. I want something a bit more interesting.
Non-metal metallic purple. I think that'd be good.
Non-metallic,
you know what?
metal purple.
Dude, green and purple. Okay, do the armor purple, then you have the green glowy Gauss
I've
rifle.
done so much shit like that. Green and purple goes well together all the time, and I've painted so many things like that. It's just, it gets kind of a little bit no-brainer.
Well, I'm sorry, I was so excited about it.
But I will also be painting, because it fits with Epic, is I pre-ordered Aeronautica Imperialis, the new box that's pre-ordered for this weekend. So it's Space Marines and Eldari, so that'll be really fun to paint. Little Eldar planes, pew 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 pew. That's gonna be fun. I'm still waiting for my Back to Gotham starter set, which is the Batman miniatures game stuff. So I'm waiting for that because I've got like terrain and everything. So yeah, I need to play some games in person though, and I've been putting it off for so long because pandemics and shit like that. But
yeah, it's a safe thing to do. You could do some outdoor Warhammer.
Yeah, we'll
before
see.
It gets too cold, as long as it's not raining over there in England.
Which it is. Even when it's sunny, it rains. But that's basically it. Someone on the Twitch stream saying, I'm considering writing a Scion book for Promethean 2E. So is that basically trying to write Promethean 2E, but using the Scion setting and system?
Are you thinking about making Prometheans into Titans?
That'd be kind of cool. Oh, yeah, that could work, couldn't it?
That would work really well.
Children of the displaced Titans. Yeah.
Huh.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, we'd have to check the legality of such a thing, just because of how the Storytellers Vault is without mixing things together.
I think you'd have to most probably change the name of everything.
Yeah, well, beyond the Storypath Nexus. But yeah, I think you could do that.
But the actual concept.
I was gonna say Promethean itself is not a protected word, but the concept of the book is because Promethean itself is a pretty widely known mythology.
Yeah.
So like you could take the concept of it, you just wouldn't be able to use like the same legal terms that Onyx Path does in it. But I like the idea.
Yeah,
I think that would be pretty awesome. Like the children of Titans just trying to create their own pantheon or something like that. Like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of Promethean, I know something else I would really, really like to do, and I think Mike knows what it is, but I'm not going to say because I don't know how much we can do with.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell me after.
Yeah, we have to talk about
this. Sorry, we shouldn't be keeping secrets on stream.
No, it's crap, isn't it? Oh god, yeah. I'm trying to think of what other fun things are there system
Oh,
wise.
Scions are the children of Prometheans.
I've yet to play.
Oh,
Scion though. Of course, I've yet to play Trinity. I've got ideas of that would possibly fit the Trinity system setting, but I've
okay.
just not
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
played
we
it.
can always stream Scion too because I have a Scion. Uh, I have Scion stuff that I can run, and I probably should be running more Scion.
Yeah.
I wonder if actually I'm thinking Engel. Could we convert Engel to the Scion setting?
I wish we could. I wish we could. Engel, that's a book we need to finally review.
I've got a
because
copy of it.
I've been
fucking read
I've been
it.
reading it every summer for the past 3 summers. It's only reading in the summer, and I'm always like, this game just needs a better system. Great setting, needs a better system.
Does Cult,
I don't
does
know
Cult
about that
have
one.
does Cult have a community content portal?
It doesn't yet,
Fuck's sake!
unfortunately. Wait,
But
who
it's
publishes
powered by
Cult? Who publishes Cult?
it's Free League, but Free League has
So-
only released certain
No,
things
it's not
onto
free.
there.
League.
Free League has their own community content.
It's
Wait, it's not Free League?
It's
Cult is
Free League
Helmgas.
Workshop.
Oh, right, it is Home Gas. My bad.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting my Swedes mixed up.
Ooh.
yeah.
Cut that from the episode. Cut that.
Yeah, that's definitely not on. Unfortunately, not on there. But Cult would be an awesome thing to play around with.
Be great
Yeah.
for Angle.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's it. That's all our shit talking, shit posting, basically about ideas right at the end of that. If you've got any questions, you can tweet us at Darker Days Radio. You can go over to our Facebook, Darker Days Radio. You can find images of painted miniatures and other shit going down at Darker Days Radio on Instagram. You can find us www.darker-days.org for the podcast. You can find from there our WordPress that contains like painting guides for how to paint blood ravens using contrast paints, because that's basically what I'm doing for Epic, just with less details. And that's pretty much it. Obviously, you can go from the Facebook or from the blog or from the podcast. You will find the Discord, where you can likely talk to us more about ideas, and we can work out what we can do for turning your ideas into likely a reality, and how we'll do that, and distribute royalties appropriately for the work done on those things, because that's life. And that's the biggest rule of community content. If you're good at something, don't do it for free. Don't sell yourself short, because a race to the bottom is shite. It will damage all of us doing that. That's the worst thing you can do.
Creators die of exposure.
Yeah, we're not going to do it for exposure for you. We're not going to do that, because that sucks. Yeah, that's it for now. So we will speak again when the stream's out and the podcast is out. So bye for now.